second speaker this morning. So I'd like you to welcome to the podium Ms. Jacinda Choy, and she's going to be talking about using technology to improve communication. And Jacinda is a Senior Speech Pathologist at Royal Rehab, and they have a great technological hub at Royal Rehab that they've been developing over the last 2 to 3 years during the COVID period. And if you ever get the opportunity to go in there and have a look at the wonderful technologies they're using for not only speech therapy but physio and OT work as well, it's tremendous. So I'd like to invite Jacinda to the podium to speak to you about using technology to improve communication.
Good morning. Morning. Thank you so much for having me. Today I'm just going to talk about some different ways in which you can be using technology to improve communication. And this follows on really well from Professor Ballard's talk on some of the different ways in which we need to actually try and increase the amount of communication therapy we can be doing. Okay. So, what is technology? Technology is using knowledge to invent new devices or tools. There are so many different types of technology, and here are some of the common technology tools. Firstly, a computer. Can I get a show of hands? Who here has a computer or laptop at home? Great, so most of you have a computer or a laptop. What about a smartphone? Who here has a smartphone? Yeah, it's become almost necessary for a lot of things. And what about an iPad or tablet? Does anyone here have an iPad or tablet at home? Great, a number of you do as well. Okay, so many of you already use technology, but how can you be using technology to improve communication? Today I'm going to be talking about using technology in 2 ways. Firstly, using technology in speech and communication therapy, and secondly, using technology to communicate in everyday life. Firstly, using technology in communication therapy. One of the most common ways in which technology can be used in communication therapy are through therapy apps. Now, you would be probably already familiar with the applications or different apps that you can download and use on your iPad or tablet or on a phone. The great thing about therapy apps is it's one of those ways in which you can try and increase the amount of therapy that you do at home. They allow you to practice your communication therapy exercises by yourself. There's a wide range of different therapy apps. Some are free, most of them are paid, but paid apps often have a free trial version, so you can give it a go. Now, due to limited time, I can't tell you about all the different communication therapy apps there are, but I'll try and give you a little bit of an overview of some of the commonly used therapy apps to give you an idea. So for language apps, that is improving skills like your understanding, your speaking, 3 common language therapy apps are Tactus Language Therapy, Constant Therapy, and Lingraphica TalkPath Therapy. So language therapy apps like Tactus Language Therapy work on some of the different elements and different language skills, such as trying to improve your comprehension or receptive skills, as well as improving your expression, such as your ability to name words. They can also work on things like your reading and ability to write and spell. So I'm just going to show you a quick video now that gives a little bit of an idea of some of the different therapy activities you can do on the Tactus Language Therapy app. Can you play video?
Penguin.
So it just gives you a little bit of a snapshot of some of the different therapy activities you can do on that communication app. Another communication therapy app is Constant Therapy. This therapy app was developed using evidence and research, and similarly it works on a range of different language skills. It also works on some different thinking skills, such as memory and maths. Constant Therapy is a program app, which means it has a personalised list of different therapy exercises you can do. All right,
Welcome to Constant Therapy,
watch this
a
video for a bit of
clinically
introduction.
proven, easy-to-use app that restores confidence, independence, and dignity to people living with a brain injury. Constant Therapy features exercises that are available anytime and anywhere to help people regain their cognitive, speech, and language functions and rebuild their lives. You can get started with Constant Therapy on your own or under the guidance of a clinician. Let's take a closer look at the app. You start with exercises that will help you rebuild the skills that matter most to you. Your Constant Therapy program is personalized so that you can focus on those goals. For example, this Constant Therapy user is working on speaking, following instructions, memory, and everyday math. As you complete your exercise program, the app will automatically adjust the level of difficulty and type of exercises based on your performance to keep you moving forward. And it learns from others like you who are also using the program so that it can present the best and most effective path for you and your goals. You will get regular feedback to stay engaged and motivated. After completing the session, you can see progress.
Thank you. So it just gives you a little bit of an overview on what some different communication therapy apps can look like. You can also use communication therapy apps to work on your speech and voice. Now, it was really interesting to hear from Professor Ballard's talk about kind of that shift now to more rhythm and melody treatments. I will have to update my slides. These apps here are more talking about kind of exercises you can use for your speech practice and for specific speech sounds. So 3 examples are speech sounds on cue, small talk phonemes, and the voice recorder app. So speech sounds on cue is designed for people who have apraxia of speech or difficulty controlling their speech and mouth movements after a stroke. And the way it works is you can choose specific speech sounds. It will then give you a word starting with that target speech sound. It will put it in a phrase and give you a video demonstration on how to say the word clearly. And this can be used for speech practice at home. Small Talk Phonemes is a simple and free app, and this provides video demonstrations on how to pronounce and say different speech sounds clearly, as well as some common words. And again, it could be used for speech practice at home. Another useful app is the voice recorder app. This app is readily available on pretty much all phones and devices, and it allows you to record your speech and voice and play it back. And so this could also be a really great tool for you to use at home to record yourself and self-evaluate your speech and voice with whatever exercise or functional activity you're practicing. However, what about if you don't have a smartphone or you don't have a tablet? There are also a number of websites that provide ways to do communication therapy at home. One website is Aphasia Therapy Online. This is a free website available in a number of different languages, and it allows you to practice activities to improve your listening skills, reading, spelling, and naming, often at a simple single word level. So for example, if you're working on your listening, you could do some of these different exercises, such as reading and choosing the right picture, reading and answering yes/no questions, or listening to and choosing the right word. Or if you were working on your naming skills, you could do things such as naming pictures aloud or typing in the name of a picture. And the website again will give you some feedback. For speech practice, there are lots of different word lists available online. Again, if you're wanting to practice specific speech sounds, for example, if you're wanting to practice the B or the B sound, they can give you words with B at the beginning, middle, and end of the word. And YouTube is another great website that has a number of useful therapy videos, not just for communication, but also for physical exercise. So the two examples you can see on the screen are 2 video demonstrations on how to do voice exercises to improve your voice. I would just put in a word of caution, beware, because not everything on YouTube is trustworthy, and it might be best to get some advice from a speech pathologist or a health professional you trust. But there are a number of great therapy videos that you can use on YouTube. So that first part was talking about using technology in communication therapy and some ways that you can do more independent practice at home and increase some of that home practice you're doing even outside of sessions. But technology can also be used to communicate in everyday life. One example of how technology can help you communicate is a voice amplifier. So if you have a quiet or soft voice, a voice amplifier can make your voice louder. It has different microphone options, such as a headset mic or a lapel mic, which is attached to a powerful speaker, and you can speak into it to make your voice louder. Another way in which technology can help communicate is through AAC, or alternative and augmentative communication. And this was touched on earlier. It basically involves using alternative communication methods apart from speaking. And there are lots of different types of AAC. So one type is unaided AAC. So that's using your body, such as gestures and body language. Can I get an idea? Who here uses gestures to communicate? Does anyone here use gesture? Yep, so a number of us, we use gestures day to day. For some people who actually have communication disability, gesture might be one of the main ways in which they communicate. You can also have aided AAC, where you use tools or equipment to communicate, such as writing things down with pen and paper or pointing to an alphabet board. Does anyone here use pen and paper or an alphabet board to communicate? No, not really. Some people do, and maybe just with your support of everyday communication, yeah. And then the last type are electronic tools, or AAC. And these are tools that allow you to use pictures, letters, or words to create messages, and then to be able to communicate it. So one really simple example of this is Lingraphica Smalltalk. This is a free and very simple app that allows you to press buttons and then communicate saved phrases or words. You can play video.
Yes. No. I love you.
Okay, you can stop there. Thank you. All right. So there are also a number of different speech generating devices. Many of these are standalone devices that have the sole purpose of communicating for you. And these speech generating devices might use pictures or a keyboard that you use to put your message together. And the device will then say the word or message aloud for you. You can also personalize messages and also sometimes choose what voice you like, such as having a male or female voice. However, of course, nowadays there are lots of AAC apps as well. These are ones that can be downloaded onto your phone or iPad, and then likewise can put together different words, phrases, and pictures to communicate quite complex messages. So one example of an AAC app is TouchChat. This app can be used for both children and adults. And in this video, it just shows a little bit about what TouchChat looks like to communicate. Play video.
TouchChat is a full-featured AAC solution for individuals who have difficulty using their natural voice. TouchChat is available in different versions to meet the needs of your AAC user. TouchChat can be found on the Apple App Store on these recommended iOS devices. TouchChat has a wide variety of vocabulary files to choose from, depending upon the motor, vision, and language needs of your AAC user.
Okay, you can stop video. All right. And another type of AAC app is Proloquo for text, and this is an example of an AAC app where you can type messages using a keyboard or using set phrases or words. However, what if you have difficulty using your hand to operate your device? Another form of technology that can help you with communication and with accessing technology is eye gaze technology. Play video.
Eye tracking is a technology that is used to see where a person is looking on a computer screen. The technology can also be used to control the computer. Instead of using a traditional keyboard and mouse, you control it by using your eyes. Illuminators in the eye tracker send out near-infrared light that is reflected by your eyes. A camera registers these reflections, and through filtering and advanced calculations, we can determine where on the screen you are looking, and then place the computer cursor consistently and accurately.
Stop video.
There are certain things.
So, as you can see, eye gaze technology can be used to communicate, it can be used to operate devices as well. And we'll move on to the next screen when you're ready. To finish up, I'm just going to briefly talk a little bit about ways also to make it easier to access and use technology. After a stroke, you might have weakness in one hand, changes to your vision, hearing, reading, and ability to spell or to type. Assistive technology means that you can adapt the way that you use your technology for different needs related to hand function, vision, and hearing. And all devices have different accessibility options, which can be found in the settings page and then accessibility. So some examples are alternate navigation. So we usually navigate through your phone or tablet by swiping or tapping the screen, which might be difficult if you have trouble using your hand. You can choose alternative ways to navigate through your device, such as setting up quick tap shortcuts to access your favorite apps from your home screen. You can also set your phone or device up to respond to gestures or facial expression, such as to move to the next screen every time you open your mouth. Or you can connect your device to an external switch or keyboard to use the switch, a large button or a keyboard, to navigate through your device instead. Voice dictation is another useful tool where you can say aloud a message and it will convert your speech into text. And this is useful if you have difficulty writing, spelling, or typing. Voice dictation is free and available on most smartphones and computers. You can also use your voice to control your device. This again is useful if you have difficulty touching or using your device. You can control your device with spoken commands. And many of you may be familiar with hands-free control options such as Apple's Siri and Google Assistant. For the sake of time, I think I'll skip this video. And lastly, for visual assistance, you can actually change the display and text size on your devices. You can use features that speak text aloud, that give an audio description of what's on your screen, that adjust the colours or the size of your text. And two examples of apps that help with this are VoiceOver and TalkBack. There are lots of guides online on how to adjust the settings and accessibility options on your device, and it's best to look up something that matches your device in particular. This is an example of one of them, which I'll skip for now, but you can have a look on the Vodafone website if you'd like to know more. So, it was a very brief, but hopefully it's given you a little bit of an overview on some of the different ways in which technology can be used. If you do have communication difficulties and you want more specific advice, I do recommend speaking to an occupational therapist or a speech pathologist on how technology might be most useful for you. But hopefully this gives you a little bit of an idea on how technology can be used for therapy practice, how technology can help you communicate in day-to-day life, and how technology can be made more accessible and easier to use. I have some communication therapy devices that we've brought in from Royal Rehab. So if you'd like to have a go trying out eye gaze or having a look at some of our different iPad apps, feel free to come and have a look and chat with me afterwards. Thank you.
So just a couple of questions for Jacinda. I would have to say to you that don't bother looking it up on the net, just get one of your grandchildren or one of your younger persons that you know to work your devices out for you. That's always my trick, can I say to you. Works very well, works very well. So do we have any questions from the floor at all for Jacinda about the presentation that she presented to you? Nobody in the room? What about online? Do we have any online at all? Well, I might ask Jacinda a question then. Jacinda, I was just wondering, with the technology hub at Royal Rehab, how do people get referred to that? Because it's not always an easy thing to do.
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically all the different services at Royal Rehab can use a technology hub. So it kind of depends on what your concerns are. One option is LifeWorks, and that is an NDIS service. So if you've got NDIS, you can be referred and you can actually use your funding there at LifeWorks. We also have a day program, so if you're wanting to do a little bit of outpatient therapy, you can be referred to our day program or to our inpatient ward, and that has to be through a medical professional. So it could be through your GP or your specialist if you've got one.
And my next question is it becoming much more prevalent in therapy, the use of these sort of treatments? Because a lot of us, particularly younger people, are coming through, and young OTs, young physios, young speechies, a lot more au fait with devices than the older population are.
Yeah, they're actually doing a research study at the moment looking at technology uptake, and they found that since they brought in the technology hub, the amount that technology is used in therapy has increased significantly. And so that's not just for communication therapy, but for physical therapy as well, and for occupational therapy.
Well, could you please join with me in thanking Jacinda for a very excellent presentation this morning. Thank you, Jacinda.